The Secret Galaxy unannounced live stream featuring Mike Case,
Some would say one of the best cartoon crotches of all time.
Kate and Chad,
I don't want to touch the cat pee towels.
and your host, Dan Larson.
Let's open him up and see what he's got.
Starts now.
Hello, and welcome to the show, everybody. It's May 4th. It's May the 4th. Unofficially Star Wars Day. I don't know if that actually is official, or if we're just still under the guise of, we're all just going to accept that it's real and it's a thing and it's official, and that's good enough for everybody else. We are probably going to talk Star Wars tonight. And by we, of course, I mean my co-host. I've got joining me as always, he's co-host of Black Series Cantina. He hasn't been streaming constantly for the last 24 hours. But he hasn't not been streaming constantly for the last 24 hours. It's Mike Case. Mike Case, how you doing?
Yeah. Thank you.
Did you have that queued up, ready to go?
I did. I had it queued up, ready to go. I've been raving all day since last night. Just nothing but Star Wars parties, baby. No one knows how to party like a Star Wars fan.
It's, you know what, if you niche yourself, then people come to you when that niche is relevant.
No, it's true. I told Lily, my wife, I'm like, okay, people want me to stream because of Star Wars Day, so I got to stream with Ken and then I got to stream with Dan. She's like, I'll see you at bedtime. That's what she said.
Have fun with all your Star Wars.
Yeah, basically.
She's the line between chaos and order, darkness and light, hope and fear in chat. It's Kate and Chad. Kate and Chad, welcome to the show.
Hello.
Hello.
That seems like pressure.
That's
Ooh.
a lot of
It is
pressure
a lot of
tonight.
pressure.
I'm
Yikes.
sorry.
That's
all on
right.
you. That's all on you tonight. Have
If you weren't so good at it, he wouldn't put pressure on you. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, fair. Yeah.
Have you been embroiled in a lot of Star Wars stuff in the last 24 hours? Kate?
Well, have you been embroiled in a lot of Star Wars?
Well, I know you've watched a couple live stream that Mike has been on,
yes,
so I think that counts.
I feel like I haven't been on live streams, but I have watched Mike on a lot of live streams.
I'm so sorry.
No,
you don't have to watch them, Kate.
She's not really watching. It's like I'll be like, "Hey, Mike's on a thing. I'm going to put it on." So we'll put it on, and then she'll just be in.
You don't have to watch it either.
Know?
I wouldn't watch it, but I'm there.
Oh, it's fun. It's good.
I gotta know if you say something weird that I can tease you about later.
Always say something weird. That's my problem. I never not say anything weird.
I will say the Smurf milk was disturbing, but that's
I was gonna get some more blue milk for this, and I totally forgot.
For those who don't know, Mike live streamed last night. Mike and Zach on the Black Series Cantina, and Mike did on air do a live reaction taste test of the new blue milk. I don't know who's manufacturing that. I don't think it's
True Moo, baby.
Oh, it is True Moo. Okay,
True Moo.
But the verdict was tastes like a vanilla shake from McDonald's.
Tastes like a vanilla milkshake. Yeah, it's pretty good.
So if you're into that, if you're looking for that, if you don't have a McDonald's nearby, grab some blue milk.
It's there.
Over here in chat, I'm going to take a look at some of these chats real quick. Especially, I'm going to address this issue. Dorlaxton, welcome to the show. Dan, better be dressed in a full Vader costume. It's a bit. I can only pull it out when you're not expecting it. It doesn't work if I do it every time.
Although I do appreciate whoever it was at the early on who said that it was right here.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
Yeah. She tried. She's like, just throw the Boba Fett helmet on, and I was like, it's got it. If people are expecting it, then I don't want to do it. It's not how it works. So yeah, everybody, welcome to the show. Thank you for hanging out. There's no real plan for tonight. In fact, we'll be engaging with chat a lot tonight and seeing what everybody wants to talk about. I do have some questions set up here. Things I do really I would like to address one thing here real quick before we go too far. I saw this on Twitter this morning, and I just wanted to see what Mike thought about it here. I'll read it out to you. It says, I took off the name so we could protect the identity of the person who tweeted it. It says, I'm just going to say it, consequences be damned. Outside of nostalgia, vintage toys kind of suck. Our toys sucked in the 80s and early 90s. We just didn't know any better. Mike, what do you think about that?
Well, first of all,
how dare they?
What kind of self-centered asshole would say something so controversial and yet so brave?
So like, are you? I want to know. Like, are they trying to stir something up? Are they trying to make themselves the center of conversation?
Someone that would say something like that 100% was just looking to get a reaction out of people.
It was like,
oh, what? What? Hold on. I didn't say that.
No.
Who would say that?
What?
Who would say that? Who would say something?
I think
like
you got
that?
hacked. You should probably put a tweet out that says, I'm hacked.
I'm gonna have to reset my password. I'm gonna set up 2-factor authentication. Absolutely.
I don't completely disagree with you, but
well, I was purposely a little bit more inflammatory than I really feel about this subject.
Yeah, of course. Yes. No, yeah. You do. I'm going to let you know this about yourself. Yeah. You do have a tendency to throw some grenades out every once in a while. Just like, it's quiet. This pond is a little too still right now. I'm going to throw a rock in it. See what happens.
Well, I do have to also question, was this after 24 delirious hours of live streaming? You know, like could this have been like
blue milk induced?
Yeah, exactly. Can we find?
Is that like it's the nerd equivalent of Amblin? Basically, it just makes me say some wild stuff.
I think it's Ambien.
Was it Ambien? No, Amblin is the movie. Amblin made E.T.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't drug.
It could have been Spielberg induced. There's no judging.
I guess, you know, just to kind of put this into context. I was just really annoyed at the time by a post I saw on Facebook where someone had a really nice, cool looking Masters of the Universe display. And all of it was like new stuff, Masterverse and stuff like that. And someone was just like, where's your vintage? A real collection has vintage in it. And they were being 100% serious. And it just got to me because, and this is my genuine feelings, a lot of those old toys they're not very good.
So here's what I'll say to that. Having you know, grown up in that era and had, you know, 5 POA Star Wars figures when they came out and Masters of the Universe and all that stuff, there was always that part of me that was anxious and excited for them to get better, you know? Like I wanted more articulation. I wanted better sculpting. I wanted better paint apps. I didn't want silly gimmicks like, you know, action punching and
super punching,
all that stuff that got in the way of the actual look of the figure and those things.
Correct.
So I will agree with that statement. And I know, again, we've set this up as like, you're not actually, you know, like you don't want to fight anybody about vintage toys, right?
No, I don't. But, I did last night, but this morning when I had like a million responses, I was like, oh no, what did I do?
Oh no, what did I do?
What did I do?
Yeah. No, the message you sent to me was I shouldn't tweet when I'm bored.
Yeah, it's what happened. That's what happened. I mean, I appreciate vintage, and I even said as a response to my own thing, like if it's your thing, it's cool. Like I like stuff that isn't good, just because it's not good. Like I like the quirkiness, I like the charm that a lot of those things have. But and another thing that kind of spawned it was I just got that missing Link Optimus Prime. And it's got all this crazy new articulation, and that just kind of exacerbated how weird it is proportioned to me. Like it made it worse. It's such a weird looking toy. Like his arms are super lanky and long, and like I don't know. Like
it's
our imaginations were doing a lot of heavy lifting in the 80s.
Yes, and it's all good. And obviously,
Yeah,
I have
yeah.
plenty of vintage stuff in my collection, and you
Sure.
know, blah 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 blah. We're not having that conversation or anything. This isn't about, you know, modern versus vintage.
No,
but I
not
will
at
say,
all.
as someone, you know,
Yeah.
I'm a person who, my collection has always been about action figures. You know, I'm a fan of action figures. That most mythology is disposable to me. You know, I'll mix, you know, even as a kid, I was mixing Centurions with He-Man, with, you know, whatever else. It didn't matter to me. Just, you had what you had and you played with what was available. And that was just the end of it. So, but I always wanted to see advancement. I was always ready for things to get better and more like what I was actually imagining in my head. And so if vintage collection had been an option at the time, and Star Wars, you know, original Kenner figures 5 POA were on the shelves, I would have been buying this.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
The
one I threw out, you know, as an example to a couple people, because everyone would always mention Transformers. And I'd throw a picture of like the G1 Starscream and like the Studio Series 86 Starscream. I'm like, are you telling me that you would look at both of these and choose the terrible G1 version over the new one? Like, come on.
But I also just recently purchased 2 40-year-old action figures that
Sure,
or one 40-year-old action figure of, you know, Sun Vulcan, my Vol Eagle, like my holy grail piece was a 5 PO action figure.
But a lot of that
even though I have the figure arts versions.
A lot of that's nostalgia, though. Let's be honest. A lot of that is tied to your childhood.
Because it's nostalgia for something that I never owned. I never owned those figures. It's not like I was buying them back because I had them at one point. I was buying them because I never had them. And so it's like I had skipped a point in the evolutionary chain of those action figures. And I was like, I already have the best modern versions of them. Now I have to go back and get the original, simple, you know, charming, nostalgic versions. Kareem Harper with the $20 super chat. Dan is a national treasure. Thank you for existing. I appreciate the sentiment.
What nation, though, is the question?
But I don't know. I can't answer that for myself.
Okay.
And then with the $5 here, Inhumanoid, Spiral Zone, both Bandai and Hasbro, Mask and the Bionic 6 figures did not suck. Madness. The quality on those figures remains amazing. Absolutely. It's absolutely not the topic that I expected to come out with tonight.
You brought this up.
Hey, this was just about busting your ego here.
But that's actually true. I just like to rip the Band-Aid off. Like, listen, kids. You're gonna have to find out at some point.
It's all good. It's all good. All right, but yeah, hey, it is Star Wars Day. I do have I got some Star Wars related questions and topics and whatever here, but you know, I do want to make sure that you know, we're addressing what chat wants to talk about tonight too, because we don't have a guest on or anything, so it's like let's make sure that everybody's being heard tonight. Maybe not everybody, but a lot more than usual. Mike, I know you have Star Wars stuff that you have picked up recently.
Sure, always.
I'm on the other end of the spectrum. I just got rid of a lot of Star Wars stuff.
What did you get rid of? Let's talk about that.
I just pared down a lot of Black Series. You know, like I'm in this weird spot with my collection where it's like I'm constantly buying new, constantly buying and looking out to new and different kinds of action figure lines. And so no one line can really dominate what I'm collecting right now, except for maybe classified. There's a lot of classified in there. But new stuff is always coming in. So it's like, well, I got to play this space game. And, you know, I've been collecting for 40 years. And so I don't have as much space as I used to have. So things need to get cycled out. And so I'm really at this point where, you know, my mantra is more focus on less stuff. You know, I don't like feeling like I'm constantly caught up on this treadmill of always wanting the thing that I don't have yet. Like I really want to force myself to enjoy the things that I do have. And part of that was saying, you know, I have all these bins and all these drawers and stuff that figures are in that they're never going to get cycled back out on my shelf. And if I'm not going to display them, if I'm not going to take them out, if I'm not going to photograph them, I don't know that I really need to have them anymore. And especially something like Star Wars, where they're coming out with better versions of the Stormtrooper, better versions of Luke, better versions of Leia. They just pipeline announcement was A New Hope Leia, New Hope Luke.
And Luke. Yep.
So should I hang on to the two I already have? Is there that same kind of nostalgic hook in me for figures that came out in 2014? No, you know? So I figured I could cycle some of that stuff out. 1/6 shooter here, late 70s had great articulation. G.I. Joe, Mego, Big Jim, and then we went backwards to 3 3/4 inch 5 POA, though I love them. Yeah, you know, it was weird to have G.I. Joe and Star Wars on the shelf at the same time. And as a kid, knowing that G.I. Joe was the future and Star Wars was the past, for the most part.
Although G.I. Joe is a little bit more than 5 POA. They were like 8 or 9 POA.
Oh yeah, no, it's 5 POA for Star Wars.
For Star Wars, yeah, I guess that's true.
But I think he's I don't know. I think he's referring to 12-inch G.I. Joe.
Oh, the older 12-inch ones, right? I forget about those, honestly, because I'm not ancient.
Yeah, I was stuck in that collection as well for a while. 12-inch G.I. Joe, 12-inch Star Wars. I think I had every. I think through Phantom Menace, maybe into Attack of the Clones, I probably had every single 12-inch figure that they had released.
Oh wow!
And then at a certain point, I was like, okay, am I going to continue this collection, or am I going to keep all this stuff in bins, or do I need to pare it down? I did keep I made sure I had this next to me. My original. This is the electronic. Actually, I'm sorry. Nice. This is not my original. I sold my original. I have since reacquired it. This is the electronic talking one that has the original voice on it.
I was gonna say that does not have Tamara Morrison. Yeah.
No, and I can never find the damn button. Make him talk. Hang on.
It's worth a lot to me.
Okay, that's laser blasts. Those sound the same then as now.
There you go. It's no good to be dead. I think you need to change the batteries.
Yeah, well, we won't get flagged on we won't get flagged on that from YouTube because it's not the actual audio anymore, right?
That's true.
I had to reacquire that one because it still has the original voice on it, and that was important to keep that. Shy Lurker was at Comic Store today for free comic book day, and the dude in front of me was ranting about Hasbro. So I said Hasbro until all are one. He laughed. Nice. That's good.
Good reference.
Very good. Thank you. I hope he knew what you meant. I hope he actually was like, all right, you got me.
Not many people know that. And then he crumpled up some paper and threw it.
Exactly. So I got rid of a bunch of my Black Series. I pared it down to the ones that I thought were really important, because for a while there, like you, I was a completist. I wanted every single figure. And then there was just too many, and there
was too much.
Couldn't do it anymore.
It was very easy to be a completionist in the Black Series line when there were only like 12 figures in a year.
Yeah, exactly.
That was easy. No problem.
Well, and at the time, when Black Series came out in 2013, they were super expensive.
For $20 was a lot for 2013.
Yeah. I bought the only one I bought. Like, I saw the whole wave on the shelf: Luke X-Wing, R2D2, Sand Trooper, and Darth Maul. And the only one I bought when I saw the whole wave sitting there on the shelf was the Sand Trooper. And the rest I had to wait
Darth
for.
Maul.
Yeah, I had to wait for the rest. I think that was probably summertime whenever that came out. I don't remember when it actually hit the shelves. And then I think for that Christmas, I got a gift card for Barnes and Noble and picked up another figure. And then from there, that's sort of how it was. It was like, all right, I got to sort of play this. I got to thread this needle of like, I can't pay $20 a figure. That's too much.
Sure. No, yeah,
absolutely. And now we look at that and it's,
now what? Yeah.
Yeah. It's like,
now it's like, it's only $20. That's easy.
Yeah. $24.99. That's cheap.
No way. That's no problem.
Yeah. So I had to pare a lot of that down and just sort of say, like, okay, do I need to keep? I have 2 of the newer style Stormtroopers. Do I need to keep the 8 old?
You don't.
Version 1 Stormtroopers? I don't.
Yeah,
I don't.
So, you don't. I did the same thing recently. Like all my Stormtroopers on my Imperial shelf are all the new mold now. Like, I got rid of anything that was that old mold, anything that was there. Same thing with Clone Troopers next door. Right there, I pulled anything that used the older clone off recently, just because same thing with you, is like I had too much. I had too much stuff. The shelves were too cluttered and it wasn't enjoyable to look at for me. So I had to like kind of pare stuff down.
Yeah. And there's that line between pre-face printing, post-face printing. And it's like, all right, well, all these characters who have not had face printing are probably going to get redone again. So if I want them, I'll pick them up next time. And then just other characters that I picked up because at the time I was trying to stay a completionist, trying to have the whole line. And at this point, I am long since departed from that strategy.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, I don't need this guy. I don't need that guy. I don't need these figures. So I probably pulled a good 80% of what I had and kept, like, I love Rebels, Star Wars Rebels, probably my favorite Star Wars thing other than the original trilogy. So I kept all of those figures. There's definitely original trilogy characters. I'm a big fan of troopers. So,
Mhm.
all the sand troopers, stormtroopers, all those guys. Kept a bunch of Mandos, Bo-Katan, those kinds of Mandalorian, those kinds of characters. But, having that Glavis Ringworld Mandalorian, it
It's a
was like,
good one,
well,
isn't it?
do I
Isn't it?
need to keep
Yeah.
any of the previous versions?
You don't. It's the best
Well,
one.
so I thought that was the easy answer to the question,
Mhm.
but I was like, well, do I need to have all 3 versions of his suit?
Oh, I see.
Yeah, and that's where I like took 2 back out of the
Yeah.
get rid of pile.
Yeah. You put that. You put the one on there that was from like the first episode that you only ever wore in like the first half of the first episode.
Yeah.
But that was the one that was in all of the marketing.
Yeah, exactly. Mr. Ryan Clark says, I really like Mike's toy room because despite having a large collection, you can still see walls and the floor.
That's a
new,
very
though,
recent
right?
addiction. That's new. It's very new. In fact, I was just on Ken Plume's channel talking about this, where like I hadn't really done any YouTube videos in a while because my toy room was in such a state that it just mentally, I just couldn't do it. Like I just didn't have the energy. It just felt so wrong. And then whenever I do a review, like I pull stuff off the shelves, which just makes it messier. And I didn't want to do that. So if I don't make videos, I don't have to do that. And it was an easy answer. But I decided to just, it's time to clean it all up. It's time to make it look nice. And I did. I bought these snazzy lights on here that I have off because I left them on all night, and they're all
I thought they were
now. Yeah.
motion sensing and they weren't picking up your motion.
They do have that, but no. So if I leave motion sensing on, it kind of turns into a rave a little bit, where they turn on, off, on, off, on, off. Because
well, if you haven't checked out Mike's collection video, he just posted that the other day.
I did.
And
I've also been posting pieces on TikTok and on Instagram.
And I'll be honest, I have seen, obviously I've seen your background before. Yeah. You and I have talked in non-live streaming scenarios on camera.
We do that.
Watching Super Sentai and whatever. But your collection, there's far more in that room than I thought there was. Because I never see the other 3 walls.
You never see it. Yeah, over here. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a good collection, and you've got it very well organized, and that is key to keeping things nice and clean. One question I did want to ask everybody here, Kate and Mike, do you have a favorite non-action figure Star Wars item? Like it'd be easy for me to say what's your favorite Star Wars action figure, but like what's your favorite non-figure item? Okay.
That's amazing.
The Phantom Menace, is that actually KFC? Did you get that at KFC?
I think it was back, it's all 3 of them. They sold them in all of them. So it was but yeah, I bought this from one of my friends has a store in a place in my mall called Ninja Exchange, where they took over a Sears, and it's basically like a swap meet, but it's all just nerd stuff. And one of my high school friends actually opened up a store there where he has junk. It's junk, but I walked in and he had like every one of these, and I was like, Nubian.
I remember going to KFC in Middletown, Rhode Island. Hey mom, we should probably go grab another cup or something, at the time, and just getting every single one of those cups. And we had them in the basement. Like there was like a little sort of jut out shelf thing, and every single one of those stupid cups was standing there. And like I wanted them to be something more, like take the lid off and their legs are in there or something.
Nope.
Just busted.
R2 had legs though.
It's true.
R2 had legs.
I think that's the only one I still have. I think that one is still in a bin.
Well, I'll tell you what, because we bought these as part of our like Patreon, like all the cool. We have a tier of Patreon called VIP, and everyone in that VIP has one of these lid toppers. So I don't think anyone has R2, so you could be an official member if you want to with the R2. Assuming you still have it, because if you don't, you can't be part of it.
I'm pretty sure. I don't know if we have the cup or just the cup topper, but I'm pretty sure.
Because I'm pretty sure all that matters.
Together. Yeah. Phil Shostak, may the 4th be with you, Dan, Mike, and Kate in chat. Quite an early and long morning here on the West Coast for Black Series pre-orders. Mike, have you taken a nap today?
Facts. I did actually take a nap today. I took it on the couch. Yeah.
Yeah.
I set my alarm for 6 a.m. this morning because I figured Walmart was gonna Walmart with that Captain Enoch.
And
Night Trooper 2-pack, and they did. They put it up at like 3 a.m. my time. I could have stayed up and just
Yeah.
pre-ordered it. But I did. I got up super early and pre-ordered that.
Kate, do you have a favorite Star Wars item, Kate?
Yeah. I think off the top of my head, it would have to be my my Wicket telephone.
Okay, I was gonna say if you didn't
That's
answer
good.
that, I was gonna say,
Yeah.
I think you forgot about this. Yeah. I wish I had a picture of it right now. I didn't think to grab a photo of it beforehand. It's Wicket in the style of the Ewoks cartoon and that whole sort of character design that was associated with that show. And it's like I don't think it's a working telephone. I think it's one of those like Flintstone phones, like you know. I think it is electronic though. I think it is.
Yeah, no, I think there was probably like I remember there being
never
a Mickey
tried to
Mouse
turn it on.
one. But yes, it's got a little dial on it and everything like that, and a little cute little
Keep talking. Let me see if I can find a picture of it real quick.
Yeah, it's adorable. So I mean, obviously,
it's like a rotary kind of phone thing.
Yeah,
or?
yeah. Little.
Nope. Keep talking.
Okay.
I have it. I just got to grab the photo.
I have all the stuffies too, but yeah, I would definitely say that the phone is favorite. Oh, and I do like my Nisa Bank as well.
Yes, I think did we finally get both of those, both
Nisa.
Wicket and Nisa from Ewoks? I think we finally got both of those.
I definitely I think so.
All right, here's this phone.
Is that Gary Sinisa?
Gary Sinisa, yes.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
If you can put Mike in timeout, please. There we go.
Oh, look at that. That's so good.
Like,
Hello,
Wicket. Oh my god. It's so cute.
Looking at it now, I don't. Yeah, it's definitely. I'm not sure if it makes noise or anything. I don't know if it has any sounds.
I'm pretty sure it does. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's got like an electric, like a battery compartment on the bottom.
How many people in chat do you think would know how to operate a rotary phone?
A telephone? I would bet with this audience, most of them would.
I'll give them that. Absolutely. Yeah.
For me, it's my. Speaking of flexing, it's my graph.
Oh my goodness! Which way's the beach, Dan? Is it this way?
It's always going to be this, obviously. Yeah. After this, it would probably be something like, I don't know. I've got the Hasbro, Boba Fett prop helmet, Black Series helmet, but I mean, I can't.
That's on sale for $99 right now, and I kind of want to get it.
It's nice. It's real nice. Yeah. There was part of me that was like, what's the point of getting the helmet if I'm never going to actually do the rest of the outfit?
Sure.
But there's still a chance I might.
So that would be a fun HasLab if they made just the rest of the outfit. HasLab.
I'd be in for that. Yeah.
Like with
Ghost
chest.
Like with Ghostbusters.
Knee pads.
Sure,
yeah.
Sure.
You get your own jumpsuit underneath, but they give you the knee pads, they give you the wrist things, they give you the chest, give you the rocket pack.
I'd be down for that. Speaking of, there were definitely some comments I saw earlier that were talking about the HasLab and the panic that's going through the vintage collecting community right now. And I don't really, I wouldn't worry about it. Like the vintage collection HasLabs have been super successful.
Well, the only reason they delayed it is because they don't know what it is. They keep changing. They're just like, I don't know what should we do?
Yeah,
oh my god. It's definitely because they do everything last minute. They throw it up. They're just like, maybe this will work. I don't know.
That's funny. Andrew Ho, I only know how to use Star Wars base.
It's good. Yeah. It's good.
This John Welgosh, that's what I was thinking.
I like talking to you.
I don't know what the HasLab is. We're gonna know soon enough, and it's gonna be great, and it's gonna get funded, and they're gonna want to build on their success already from the Jabba's sail barge to the Ghost. Right, those are the only two vintage collections we've done so far. They're gonna want to build on that. I don't know what it is, but it's not an Ewok.
Razor Crest.
Sure. Oh, Razor Crest. I forgot about the
Razor Crest.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. They're gonna want to build on that, and I don't know what ship that is. I don't know what playset that is, but it's gonna be fun.
It's gonna be something. It's gonna be neat. I felt bad for TVC collectors. Like I was fine yesterday morning. I loved yesterday's live stream. For me, it was banger. I'm pre-ordering all of this, but like I felt bad for the TVC people because I couldn't imagine if they were like, hey, we had Black Series figures, but we're not going to show them off. Sorry, in the future maybe. And you're like, oh man, why did I get up?
Yeah.
Why did I even get up? You know.
That's funny, Max.
Yeah.
HasLab is going to be a certificate. HasLab is coming out later this year.
Good.
They should do it.
Good.
They should do that.
Do
that
it.
would be great.
They
Send
should do
out
it.
now.
That's funny. Yeah. An IOU.
Yeah.
Just give us a
brand new-
$500 IOU. I promise you're gonna love it.
Yep. Brand new early HasLab early bird kit. Do it. It's gonna be fine. Like Dan Larson, Mike Case said it's gonna be fine.
It's gonna be fine.
Don't sweat it. Don't sweat it.
You're gonna love it.
Before you know it, you're gonna be sitting there wondering if doing the math to try to figure out if that $300 comes out on this paycheck or next paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it's gonna be at. All right, cool. Let's I'm trying it's hard to balance like keeping conversation with keeping with chat. Like I want to keep chat involved, you know.
You can
But it's hard, like I can't read and talk at the same
They're
time.
just people, Dan.
No, it's not about them, it's about me.
Oh, it's about you. Well, you just got lumped in with Jansen Ackles, Alexander Skarsgård, and Anson Mount. So
That's
congratulations.
Nice. That's very kind.
Congratulations.
Here's a question I don't think we've discussed before, Mike, is prior to the prequels coming out, and even prior to the actual, like the revival of Power of the Force, so Power of the Force 2 in 95.
Yeah.
And that sort of rebirth of Star Wars as a big main property. Did you have a concept of what the back history of Star Wars was, like your own sort of understanding based on the little pieces, all the little, you know, nuggets of information from this book, from that book, from comics, from toys and whatever? Did you have a sort of puzzle in your mind of what the history of that universe was?
Yeah. Well, you know, it went through cycles of as I kind of, it's weird because like when you're growing up, I feel like every time I watched the movie, I understood the movie a little bit more. Like when I was in second grade, I remember playing Star Wars on the playground, and I thought just everyone in the Rebel Alliance was a Jedi. I just thought that, like, Luke Skywalker's a Jedi. Why? I just thought everyone was a Jedi. I just thought that was a thing. You know, so once I kind of understood it, it wasn't until I read the Thrawn trilogy around middle school where I was like, oh man, he did talk about clones in that movie. Like what are those about? What is the Clone Wars about?
It's such a one-line thing. You served my father in the Clone Wars, and they're like, moving on.
What? You know? Hold on. What did you say?
I honestly, I will thinking about it, I don't even think I understood what that sentence meant. I don't even think I knew what a clone was.
Yeah.
What is a clone war? What is a clone? You know, like it was such an abstract concept to me as a 6-year-old, 7-year-old.
Like, were they fighting clones? Like, was someone cloning people and then they had to fight their clone?
I remember thinking that Obi-Wan Kenobi must have been a clone
because he's one. Yeah,
he's one. Exactly. He's Obi-Wan. Like, so he's like however many levels into. Yeah. And
that was a popular theory, honestly. Like everyone thought that was it's weird that it didn't turn out that way, honestly.
I remember being a kid and I lived with my grandparents, so we had a radio still when I was a kid, and like a radio that you could listen to like in the house, not just in your car. And so I remember coming home from school. I don't know if it was on Tuesdays or on Thursdays, but there was a broadcast like half hour or 15 minutes on BBC or something on NPR of the radio, like the broadcast,
the radio drama.
Yeah. And like as a kid, as a 8-year-old or 9-year-old, probably even littler, just that was so amazing to me. Because I'd only ever seen the movie one time, right? So like it was like you had seen it one time. It went by.
It was harder to watch back then, though. It was so hard to watch Star Wars back then.
Yeah, and that's like 10 years
Yeah.
even earlier than you would have been trying to watch Star Wars.
Oh, look at me. I'm Kate.
No, no,
You little baby.
I'm just saying, like, you little baby. Like, this is, yeah, it was impossible. Like, that was a diss on me, not a you're.
No, it's fine.
Well, so one of the
it's
weird
fine.
phenomenon of that era of not being able to sort of watch Star Wars whenever you wanted to watch it was you tended to go to the sources that existed that were tangible that you had in your own possession. And so those like color photo storybooks, the hardcover
those
ones,
hardcover books, yeah,
those have the cut scenes in them.
Yeah.
Biggs is in those scenes, those books.
Totally.
And it was years before I realized that those scenes weren't in the movie because I had read those books so many times and I had looked at those pictures so many times that I just assumed those scenes were in the movies. And it didn't make sense to me why they would not be there. And so, I had this whole idea of, the Obi-Wan Vader relationship that was just purely built on the dialogue that I had been given, the pictures that I have seen, and then having to extrapolate the rest for myself from those context clues. And I saw somebody in chat say like, oh, I wish it was still unknown. And it's like, to a certain degree, I get that. I'm not using that as a criticism of what exists because I don't know what George Lucas had in mind. It's his story. It's his characters. It's his world. He can do whatever he wants to with it. But at the same time, I still like my story a lot. my story was
better.
I can guarantee you got 100% of Rotten Tomatoes if I wrote it for me and I was the one that was critiquing it. It was great.
Well, I feel like I missed out because I never read any of the books. So I think that there is so much richness in the books, right? Like so much extra world building.
Yeah, of varying quality, sure, absolutely. But then again, kind of like the late 80s to early mid 90s was the dark times for Star Wars because the only things we had were VHS. My friend who was rich had them on Laserdisc.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had them taped off TV. I think TBS. I had them taped, and I think I think one was missing either the beginning or the end because it didn't tape right, or they aired it wrong, or it was on TBS, so it always started at 15 instead of or at 05 instead of So it was weird. Anyways, it wasn't until 1995 when that THX box set came out where I was like, now I got it for Christmas. I was like, now I own Star Wars. It was like the biggest deal ever that I owned that box set of Star Wars. It was so cool. But before then, all we had were those novels, no matter how bad the novel was. And at that age, you're not really discerning over quality. Like Star Wars is Star Wars. Anything Star Wars is good. It doesn't matter. It wasn't until I think I was like a junior in high school. I was reading a book and I'm like, oh man, this kind of sucks. Like, this isn't not a good book. Like, why am I reading this? And that was when it kind of dawned on me that even though it said Star Wars on it, it could not be good.
Yeah. Well, and at the time, you had the 3 films. Yeah. And I'll extend it all the way today. If you only consider the films canon, especially because there is so much other peripheral material that it is very hard, especially for just a casual fan, to consume all of that. And so you tend to fill in those blanks that aren't specifically in the movies because you're only using the movies as your source of information and mythology. You fill in those blanks yourself, right? And so things happen, you don't care. Like, you didn't know that character had been in a book. You didn't know that character had been in a comic book or died in a video game or whatever. I saw you talking about, I think you were talking about Scorch, either on your live stream last night or on Twitter. I can't remember what it was.
It was on Twitter.
I have no prior connection to Scorch whatsoever. I know his name was Scorch because I had the closed captions on.
Right.
That's how I knew what his name was, like, oh, okay, Scorch, that's that guy. So when things happened to him,
Spoilers. No.
When things happen to him, I'm just like, whatever. He's just
Whatever.
just another
I have
trooper. Whatever. I don't care.
I have no
He's,
feelings about this. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. So I get it, and I get, the sort of fan reaction that's like, Disney comes in and they get rid of the whole EU. It's like, well, they can't be bound to all that stuff, and I don't want to get into that whole conversation right now. I'm more referring to I don't want to. I do not want to. I will change the subject to anything else than that. No, I'm more talking about the sort of, this mythology. Your picture of the mythology of Star Wars was part of what you loved about it and got you into it in the first place.
True.
Those adventures that you acted out with your action figures, and you may still, when the camera's off, the background.
You don't know what I do.
Like my Boba Fett is still the guy that I think he is in my mind, from when I was an 8-year-old imagining what his adventures were, as opposed to, there's
you didn't imagine him being a Kiwi clone.
That's fine. It's great.
No,
it's
all
nothing
against it, but like when you're 8, you didn't imagine that.
No,
that's what I'm saying.
There's two parallel versions of Star Wars that I observe now. The official version and the version that's still being built in my head with the characters that I knew them as 40 years ago before these things were established. When Boba Fett was just a guy. We used to have in college. In college, we used to have conversations about whether or not he was human, whether or not he was a guy. It could be. What if it's a lady under there? Who knows? What if it was some octopus-faced monster? You don't know. What if it's a robot? We don't know. There's all those Starlog magazines and stuff from back in the day, but before Empire comes, I think it was before Empire was released, but people had seen photos that they're speculating that it's Luke Skywalker,
Yep.
I love that kind of fan theory sort of thing. And I think that plays into these ideas of what you have before it gets locked into place. And then, we could have the same conversation about like, where did you think the trilogy was going to go? The series was going to go after. Once we got to the sequel trilogy, where did you think things were going to go, and how do you now feel about that as things get further get locked into place? Obviously, I don't want to go down that road either.
You like to start conversations and then immediately just eject out of them
because I wanted. Look, the pond is too still. I'm just throwing rocks out in the water.
You're trying to skip stones, but you keep throwing them wrong.
They're splooshing.
I just remember, just really quickly. Sorry to interrupt you, but I just remember being so confused back then too. I was desperate. I remember being like, I don't understand why I can't find the other 3 episodes. Where are the other 3 episodes? Where are the other 3 movies?
Yep.
And having to have the forget about a birds and bees talk. I remember my dad having to have you have to understand there is no
other movies.
Yeah, these are the only movies. And that conversation.
Just imagine him putting his hand on your shoulder. Listen.
Yeah, exactly. I just remember being like, well, I don't know. I don't get it, because we had the everyone in chat was saying that the laser discs are amazing, and they are those. I remember a friend had a laser disc player.
Always a friend that had it. It's always
it was. It's and that laser disc box set when it came out was $500. It wasn't. I don't remember how much it was, but in that kind of money, it was $500. But it was also 200 pounds worth of laser discs when it came out, and I remember being so excited about it. But before, way back when, my dad had the video disc of A New Hope, right? And if anybody doesn't remember what video discs were, they were the ones that you put in the whole cartridge in
3.5 inch disc.
How old are you, Kate?
Ancient. I'm ancient.
Before time.
Yeah,
I was watching video discs.
But no,
we had Star Wars on spinny silhouette where we had to spin.
We had it on Edison disc. Yeah.
Yes, right.
Exactly. But
you'd come home and listen to the radio. Star Wars from yesteryear.
Lots of coconuts happening for
How old is Star Wars?
Where are the other 3 episodes? Oh, they're lost. They're lost.
So
to
that-
time.
They're lost. They're
So I'm
lost to
glad-
time.
I'm glad you brought that up, Kate. I'm glad you brought that up because I remember having that. My brother's 2 years older than me, and he noticed that before I did. Again, we didn't have access to it all the time, but once you get to either see it on video cassette or it was on HBO or something or on TV, taped off television, he pointed out that this is episode 4, and I was like, "What? Wow! How did they?
Spoiler alerts.
Why would they do that? Why would you start on episode 4? That doesn't make any sense." And it absolutely blew my mind. But at the same time, there was no part of you that was like, well, they have to make the other 3, don't they? It was just kind of like, no, that's where they started. They ended on 6.
Yeah.
That's the end of it.
Was it?
Until I got
Yeah.
into college and got really obsessed with it and was like, they have to make episodes 1 through 3.
Yeah. Well, and even like I would say even up to like 95, there were always like rumblings of one day they're gonna make this, but there wasn't the internet back then. Like you had magazines, like you said, but there wasn't any real way to know for real if any of the stuff was happening. Even up to like 97, like the internet wasn't the same as it is. And I think asking Kate her age is probably the worst thing, honestly. It was a rhetorical question.
Yeah, I walked into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just rhetorically implying that she's old.
Yeah. We actually had a Laserdisc player. For those that don't know, I did live in Japan from 1980 to 1982, and
That's just
my
how they
parents
communicated in Japan, right?
my parents, as far as I can tell, based on historical records, my parents were kind of early adopters when it comes to technology. They had picked up, a beta. We had a beta, a VHS, and a Laserdisc all at the same time. But we were not rich. My dad was military. He was in the Navy, and he was just an enlisted guy, and my mom didn't work. So we were by no means rich. But, like I didn't have a flag. I didn't have the shuttle Tydirium. I didn't have any of that stuff. But we did have a Laserdisc player. We only had 2 movies. We only ever got 2 movies for the Laserdisc. Neither of which were Star Wars. Neither of which were Star Wars.
That would be worse, I think, if you only got 2 of the 3 movies.
Take a guess. All right. So it's 1982.
Okay.
Just chat, please. Everybody chat. Take a guess what 2 movies we had. I could give you each a million guesses. You'll never guess which 2 movies we had.
Chariots of Fire.
Nope. Nightlight said E.T. Nope.
Casablanca.
Rocketeer. No.
1982? How old do you think?
Yeah. We got Roger.
It's gotta be some older movie. It's gonna be some old movie. Like
Jaws and Superman. Nope. Alien. Nope. On Golden Pond and Hooper.
Is it Hoosiers? Did you watch Hoosiers on Laserdisc?
Colin got one of them.
Wow. Saturday Night
Nice job.
Fever.
Nice job. Willow, Star Trek. Nope. All too late. Star Trek and Taxi Driver. Nope. Ice Pirates. Last Starfighter. No. Keep in mind at the time.
Too late. Yeah.
At the time, 1982. I'm 6 years old.
Yeah.
And my brother is 8, and my younger brother hasn't been born yet. 007 Casablanca.
And this is also before like a movie, like movies didn't come out right after they were in theaters back then.
No.
So it's not like how it is now, where like, oh, a movie's in theaters and a couple months later it's on home video.
Yeah,
it was like years.
Yeah, all these are wrong. The other one, so I'm shocked. Saturday Night Fever, correct answer.
That's
so
impressive.
So basically, they got one for themselves and one for the kids. The other one was Winnie the Pooh and Tigger 2.
Oh, see, I was gonna say
Nice.
Sesame Street, Follow That Bird. So
Yeah.
yeah.
At least your mind was in the right place as far as like little kid stuff. And then like the first movie we got on, I think it was on, I can't remember if it was beta or VHS. I think it was VHS. Was Superman, the first Superman movie. And then we had all of the clamshell Disney cartoon collection.
Had those too. Yeah,
on beta.
Had those too. Oh, we didn't have on beta, but we did have the VHS, but the big clamshell ones. Yeah.
And then we had tons of Japanese television recorded to beta tapes. My parents threw them all away in like 1994, and that was the end of that.
Worst.
This is beta though. I don't even know if you can get a used beta at a decent
you
price,
can. No,
days.
you
At
can.
a decent price.
Sure.
I bought a
absolutely.
VHS recently, but that was only like $60 on eBay.
I mean, it might be like $100 or so, but you could get a beta player for sure.
I remember we used to have to. There was a guy that lived down the street from us who was a like he would put classified ads in the paper that was like, I do home electronics repair. And my parents brought the beta to him twice at my request, twice to get it fixed. And after the second time, because he charged like $50 at the time, which is like $500 now. He charged $50 to fix it, and it worked for like 2 or 3 weeks and then died again.
Well, and that was back when like that's what people do is they would you could go to college for VCR repair.
Yeah.
Like you were
That's right. You could like
Yes,
it, right?
that's true.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I wish, man, Andrew, every day I wish we still had those tapes. They are so long gone. And even if we still had them, I'm positive that most of them would have just demagnetized or like they'd be all stuck together.
So you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised, but there's a guy I watch daily who's watching a VHS tape every day that he goes to estate sales and buys them and he digitizes them. But every Sunday is Betamax Sunday, and he gets some old tapes, and they still work just fine.
Yeah. A lot of Super Sentai, lots of Sun Vulcan and
I was going to say it'd be Sun Vulcan, yeah. Yep. Eagle, Shark, Panther, baby.
Yep. A lot of cartoon compilations. Cool. So yeah, the prehistory, the post history, the sort of your own personal headcanon for stuff. And I mean, that exists across all kinds of media. I'm sure you have your own Optimus Prime story in your head too. You especially, a lot
of fan fictions,
any deep Star Wars memory from childhood. I'll share one of mine here.
Yeah.
Two of mine. One was, I was young enough when so I was born in 76. So Star Wars is 77, Empire's 80, Return of the Jedi is 83. So I'm pretty sure the only one I can remember seeing in the theater is Return of the Jedi. I'm pretty sure I was in the theater for Empire Strikes Back. I don't remember. I was 4 years old. But at the time, Darth Vader was scary. At that age, Darth Vader is scary. And we went to a mall where they had like a Star Wars, encounter kind of thing. And again, this is like 1980, 1981. So it wasn't real elaborate. In my mind, Darth Vader was the full movie costume. It was the full exact same props from the movies. I would love to see what that costume actually looked like, because it was probably just some janky homemade thing.
It's gonna look like Shredder from the Ninja Turtle coming out of their shells tour.
Just a Don Post helmet, with just a black fabric cape, and like hockey pads or something, but it was like this, you're walking through the mall, and then they had it was like velvet roped off. And you had to like get in line, go into and there was like this box sort of like shed sort of thing constructed in the middle of the wall. And they had like the dry ice, smoke and lights and stuff. And you walk in here and it's Darth Vader. It is the Darth Vader in the mall, on planet Earth in 1980. And after that, I swear for years, monsters didn't live under my bed, but Darth Vader and a stormtrooper did. Yeah. You put your foot off, stormtrooper's gonna get you, and then Darth Vader's gonna slash you up and take you out.
Yeah, that's good. You're gonna lose a foot.
Yeah. He was scary. He was a very scary thing.
I'll be honest.
I know you're very young, Mike, so you wouldn't have that same experience.
No, let me tell you how. Even now, as a grown ass adult, if you go to the right places in Disneyland, you can meet like Darth Vader, and like. It's intimidating in person. Like the person they have playing him. I mean, are the kids like Darth Vader's real kids? Is that still a joke? Anyway, I don't know what I'm doing. He's intimidating. I was making a joke or an allusion to the Santa Claus thing. I didn't want people to know that Darth Vader wasn't real, but he's intimidating in person still to me, and I'm a big guy, so I just want to say that he's scary. He's a scary guy. I get it.
Yeah, now sometimes, depending on which cosplayer it is or which actor it is, I am sometimes taller than Darth Vader now, and that's like
it loses some of the
just
magic.
Put my hand on his helmet and hold him back, like in Spaceballs,
like Dark Helmet. Yeah.
It's not scary anymore.
Yeah.
Kate, any scarring Star Wars memories for you?
Scarring.
Yeah, I want something that scarred you. I want something that damaged you. Some Star Wars trauma.
Star Wars. Okay.
Star Wars.
I do remember being traumatized a little bit um, I remember, I don't know exactly how it worked, but I definitely had an R5D4. That was like my one most favorite figure, and my cousin stole him. Um, and he became his most favorite figure. And yeah, I'm surprised we still speak actually, but
He owes you an R5D4.
he'll never admit that it was mine. Never, ever, ever.
I'm just saying he can get one on sale from Target right now.
But does it click? Does it make the little clicky thing? Clicky noise?
No, but he has little rocket packs that go on his feet.
Yeah, he is really cute.
Comes with bit droids.
He is really cute. No, I would say the most traumatizing for me was like dead Ewoks.
Oh yeah, I mean
Sure.
that's directly film related, but still, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. We were still talking about headcanon stuff, but yeah, no, like yeah, dead Ewoks were traumatizing for me for sure.
As I think it was supposed to be. I think that was it was good that they didn't pull those punches in the movie. You know, you really had to deliver that impact to sell that scene.
Exactly. That R5 was my R2D2.
Same.
Yeah, and he was my most favorite. I loved him so much. And then I remember, so there was a glorious time back in like, I don't know, 94, 95 area, somewhere in there, where like you could go to flea markets and find Star Wars, like vintage Star Wars toys everywhere, like in baskets for
they were on
25 cents
clearance.
a piece.
Yeah,
like you know, just like flea market, yard sale, whatever. You could just pick them up. And I remember finding one and giving it to him for Christmas one year. Yeah,
nice.
Should have taken it. I'm giving this to you, but I'm taking
it back. I should have.
Yeah, it's mine.
Taking them all back.
I saw the Ewok movies once. I could never find them again. They're on Disney Plus right now.
They're on Disney Plus.
Watch them right now.
Yeah.
Yep. We did a video about
it, but you can.
We did about. You know what? I was actually surprised by both of them.
Really?
There were parts of them I had not seen them since I saw them originally, and so what I had sort of what became the picture of them from my scattershot memories of them was not what they were. There were parts that were absolutely intolerable. But you know, like I don't think there's a word spoken in the first Ewok movie for like the first 15 minutes. You know,
they went the Star Wars special or the Christmas special.
It's all Ewoks chirping at each other. You know, but you know, it's again for what we had, for what was available. It was like it was something Star Wars. It was in that universe, and it was good to be back in that universe again. Speaking of being in the universe. We'll segue into my next and potentially final question here.
Do I not get to answer the question?
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I thought you
had
already,
an answer locked. Did I?
We brushed right by your trauma. No, go ahead.
No, I need to talk.
Give me that trauma.
I'll give you my trauma. I'll make it fast though, so we can move on. You know, when you're a young kid, you don't really understand a lot of the stuff, and I heard two things. There was a Star Wars movie with ghosts in it, which is automatically scary. 100%. I was in 3rd grade. I remember this night. And they were premiering Empire Strikes Back on TV for like first time ever. We're playing Empire Strikes Back. And I was like, I'm going to watch it. I've never seen it. And for some reason I got into my head is that was the one with the ghosts in it. And I was like, terrified of watching this movie because it was scary because there were going to be ghosts in it. And then also at the same time we had a tornado.
Oh, well.
So I'm watching Star Wars terrified that I'm going to see a ghost, and then outside there's like a storm ripping apart our neighborhood, which was also scary.
Yeah, well,
and turns out there were no ghosts in Empire Strikes Back, and I was very confused by the end of it. I was like, but there were ghosts
look,
in this.
as a little kid, it's hard to distinguish holograms from ghosts.
Sure.
They're basically the same
well,
thing,
no, it
right?
was the Force ghosts of Return of the Jedi. I had a friend. I remember a friend telling me, "Oh man, that's the one where the dead people come back." and I was like, oh my god, that sounds
Not-
scary.
Not technically wrong.
Yo, it's not. It just sounded so scary.
Yeah.
But I was also intrigued,
Yeah, I got to see that for myself.
right?
I mean, look, kids love horror. Kids love spooky, scary stuff. That's always been a
Yeah.
thing. I mean, Jason, Freddy, all that stuff was huge. Like
My
what
favorite
kid
kids
didn't-
movies. Yeah.
Yeah, what kid didn't know who Freddy Krueger was?
Nope,
What was
we
your
all
favorite
did.
Star Wars themed episode of another show, and why is it the Muppet Babies? I'll go with Muppet Babies just because I don't know. I can't think of any others off the top of my head right now.
The opening to everyone has Darth Vader's TIE Fighter in it. That's
It's
how
the
I knew
weirdest
Star
thing,
Wars.
right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
look.
It's in the theme song.
People that don't know, for people that
Yeah.
don't know the drought, and this is actually a good segue into my next question here. The absolute drought, the dearth of Star Wars. I was working at a movie theater in 1992 or 1993, whenever the first Police Squad movie came out. Police Squad was the TV show. The movies were called
Naked Gun.
Naked Gun. When the first Naked Gun movie came out, and the whole opening sequence is the car, the police siren on the top,
Mhm.
and you see it driving through like stores and the Grand Canyon
Yep.
and stuff, and then it goes into the Death Star
The
Canyon.
Death Star Trench. Yeah.
And I stood in the back of the theater like, this is probably the closest I'm ever going to get to seeing Star Wars on the big screen again. That and the
Yeah.
Muppet Babies opening.
Yeah,
Like,
that's it.
that's all.
That's all you
that was it.
Yeah.
Like, and all of a sudden they're talking about special editions, and IMAX is showing the footage, and it's like, I gotta go to this thing. But so for you as someone who now has a podcast specifically about Star Wars, and not just about Star Wars, specifically about a single line of action figures related to Star Wars, what's the most out? What's the farthest away from Star Wars? Where was the point where you were the farthest away from it? 90, 89, somewhere around there.
That's a super, super good question. I'm going to say, I mean, other than Small Child, before I kind of got into it, man, I would say probably the era in between Revenge of the Sith and probably when the Black Series started back up. Realistically, I mean, again, I know there's a lot of people that like to rewrite history, but the prequels were not well loved at all.
No. They
To
were not
say
well
the
loved
least.
by people who grew up with the original trilogy. They were well loved by
Yes.
kids who didn't have the attachment to the original trilogy.
Correct. So afterwards, I just was like, I got into other things. I did not really, and there wasn't really anything else because I assumed that was the end. Like they're not going to make any more Star Wars movies. Yeah, that was it. We saw the last Star Wars movie they made. George Lucas said, "I'm never going to do the sequels because of everyone's reactions or whatever." And that was it. And then I remember specifically when like the Clone Wars cartoon, like the movie came out, and then the cartoon started up, and I'm like, okay, Star Wars is back, cool. But I didn't like the trailers for the Clone Wars movie looked awful. Like I'm like, that looks terrible. Who's this? Like Anakin never had a Padawan. Who's this girl? Like how could they shoehorn a Padawan in 3 years and conveniently she's not in any of the movies? Like that doesn't make any sense. So I wrote all that off. I didn't pay any attention to it. And it wasn't until I'd started kind of getting back into Transformers and toys, and they were like, here's the Black Series. And I'm like, I can get in on this from the beginning. And that kind of like, I never stopped liking the movies, don't get me wrong, but I just wasn't as into them as I had been like in high school. From like 95 to like 2005, I was nothing but Star Wars. Like that was my entire life. My room was decorated with Taco Bell wrappings because they had Star Wars stuff in them, and it had potato chip bags because it had Star Wars stuff on it. Like I was obsessed.
I was going to say around that same time as Naked Gun, I think Indian in the Cupboard came out.
Yeah.
And had
Darth
the Darth Vader figure
Yeah.
in there, and I was like, "That's it. That's as close as we're ever going to get to seeing Darth Vader on screen again." I did want to address this comment here from Bad Wolf Media. They weren't well loved by adults that wanted to feel like they were 12 again, and they blamed Lucas for the fact that they grew up. Now, having been one of those people, I will agree to part of that, but I will credit my distaste for the prequels to what we were just talking about in terms of having my own ideas about what actually happened and what was supposed to happen in those movies. And when what happened wasn't what I was expecting to happen, now I'm blaming him. I'm blaming George Lucas for not telling my version of the story. And that's not fair to him for me to do that, you know.
Learning about Boba Fett took away some of the magic.
Of course.
That was one of the big things for me. Like, we went so long, Boba Fett was this mysterious character. Like, who's Boba Fett? We just talked about it earlier. And then
now it's like it's this kid. What?
It's this kid. His dad was a bounty hunter. He's got his armor from his dad, and just
farthest out for me, I think would be probably I saw somebody that I put a comment up on the screen that was like 83 to 89, 87 to 89, and that would probably be the same for me. Like, after Jedi is done, Droids cartoon, Ewoks cartoon, I wasn't even bothering to watch those because I was done with Star Wars. I had moved on. G.I. Joe, all the other awesome toy lines and stuff that were coming out. I was far more interested with that stuff, mostly G.I. Joe, because G.I. Joe, again, I said it earlier, was the future as far as action figures were concerned, and that's where my attention went. That's where I was following. If Star Wars could have upped their action figure game at the time, I probably would have stuck with Star Wars stuff a little longer. But you know, that first Power of the Force line, I'm talking about 86 or 85, whatever it was.
Yeah.
It's like Luke is a stormtrooper, Imperial dignitary, another Ewok. You know, I did not care.
Old man Anakin.
I literally could not have cared less about those action figures. Did not care. I've told this story before.
The Anakin Skywalker is the weirdest one. I'm just going to say that.
Well, he was a mail away. He wasn't just on card.
But he was in that time frame. But
yeah,
it was still weird.
Super boring. Super boring. No. And my mom made me get an Ugnaught one time, and I was like, I would have preferred you told me, like you were kicking me out or something. Like, I got me an Ugnaught. Like,
please make me homeless. I don't want to buy
she's
this
like,
Ugnaught.
you know, it was that whole like, oh, you want to get them all, don't you? At some point, you're gonna have to get the Ugnaught. And I'm like, Mom, that's an Easter gift or something. Like, that's not just a Saturday at the mall.
Have my aunt give that to me.
Exactly. You got to pile that in with like 4 other action figures. You're like, okay,
right.
Fine. I got a
Make it worth
stormtrooper.
it.
I got Luke, a biker scout, and an Ugnaught. Yeah, it's nonsense. It's not even a whole action figure. It's 2/3 of an action figure. It's ridiculous. And now I've completely lost my train of thought. Thank you, Ugnaught.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
Just all this old trauma coming back up. Oh, so I couldn't have been more out of Star Wars. I've told this story before. I'll tell it again. I remember standing in the toy aisle at a store. And they've got those wire bins that would be at the bottom of the shelves. So you'd have like new stuff would be up here, and then the wire bins would be down at the bottom where they just bulk dump crap into it. And there was a whole end cap of the brand new Masters of the Universe action figures, including Stinkor. And over here was the Power of the Force Star Wars stuff. And I grabbed Han and Carbonite, and I had Han and Carbonite in my hand. And then I walked around the corner and saw Stinkor. And I put Han and Carbonite back, and I grabbed Stinkor, and that was the end of that. And then Han and Carbonite was worth like $200, you know, 5 years later.
Cool.
Stupid. Don't trust me when it comes to that kind of thing.
Stinkor is not worth nothing. Nobody wants to smell that guy.
He never was worth anything. He's not even like one of my guys, you know. Like,
it's
whenever
so weird that's your first one.
Like, he wasn't my first He-Man guy. He-Man was my first He-Man guy.
Oh, that makes sense.
You know, but even he's not really like one of my guys. It's like Clawful, Buzz-Off, you know, Roboto. Who are my guys? Those are the core 4. Clawful, Buzz-Off, Roboto. I'm like looking at my shelf now because I can't even remember. But it wasn't Stinkor. Wasn't one of those guys.
Nope. I mean,
because I was done with Star Wars. Star Wars was in the past and everything because the series was over. There's no reason to think we're gonna get 1, 2, and 3. There's no reason. Yeah. If they didn't want to start at 1, why would I think they're gonna do 1 now? We're at 6. It's over.
You don't tell a story backwards like that.
Then go back. What are you doing? So that was the end of that, and G.I. Joe was the future, and Transformers were the future, and all of this incredibly amazing stuff was all the future. And so that was certainly the most out. And the back in definitely started just because I started college in 90. When did I graduate? 94. So 94 was probably about, and that's almost 10 years. You know, that 10-year gap was. I skipped the Timothy Zahn books. They came out. I read about half the first one and was like, this ain't working for me. I can't pronounce this guy's name, Joris Caboth. I still don't know how
I
it's
still can't
pronounced.
pronounce his name. Don't know. Yeah,
Don't do
care.
that to me, please. Put like a phonetic thing in there or something.
But
like,
I'm super excited to get his toy. I'm just saying.
yeah, you know, Luke. Is it Luke?
Luke.
Or Luke?
No, in hindsight, and I will say, I'll die on this hill. Those books did not age well. They didn't age well past the prequels. So they had 5 years of being like relevant content, basically. Before George Lucas was like, nah, these aren't. It's not how it happened. Nah.
Wasn't one of those enforcer goblin guys just in the I didn't watch all of Tales of the
Rook.
Yeah, Rook. Yeah. He's from
Rook is in Rook is in
yeah.
well, because he was in Rebels as well.
Does Rook fight Luke at some point?
No, I don't think so. No. The Nagri were weirdly obsessed with Princess Leia. They called her Lady Vader.
Yeah. It's like flashes pop up every once in a while. And I'm like, oh, I do remember reading that part. It's just, I don't know. Like, even that was like, was this written by George Lucas? It's not. Nope. I don't care. This is a waste of time because this could be erased tomorrow. Who cares? It's not important, you know? Like,
and it was.
I was right.
And it was. And you were right.
Kate, I'm gonna ask. I'll ask the question. What's the farthest out of Star Wars you've ever been?
She's like, what's right now?
Yeah, does this count? No. So I mean,
it had to have been the late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah, so like it would have been. I think I had the original. Whenever the first Star Wars movies, whenever they came out on VHS, we got them. Like the ones that
like
had
the gold box ones.
No. Before that, there were like the individual.
Yeah,
like just the with the posters on the cover and everything like that. And I had Star Wars sheets and curtains in my room for a long time, like probably.
I just had dinosaurs.
No, Star Wars and strawberry shortcake sleeping bag. So that
Star Wars berry shortcake. I like it.
Yeah. But as far as like
probably
really being into it, like certainly not through. Like I would say, when did the Power of the Force 2 figures come in?
95.
Mike, what are you doing?
Is there a strawberry shortcake on here?
You got
it's a Care Bear. It's a Care Bear.
Nice.
It's a Rebel Care Bear.
Yeah.
Have you been wearing that shit backwards the entire time? What is it?
No, this is how the shirt. This is the back image. I love the hold on.
Is it a dark is it a black light shirt? Like that's really sweet.
I think it is.
That's awesome.
My favorite is the Optimus Prime Boba Fett up in the top corner.
Yeah.
There. And then you got Bucky O'Hare.
Was that like Dungeon Master in the middle? Like a Dungeon Master kind of thing?
Yeah.
Although that could be Joris Saboth.
Like a Koopa Troopa, like Stormtrooper.
Yeah. That's just straight up Bucky O'Hare though.
Yeah, no, it's straight up Bucky O'Hare.
Like everything else is like a parody, and it's like, it's just Bucky O'Hare.
For a second, I thought that was a strawberry shortcake, but it turned out to be a Care Bear.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
I didn't mean to interrupt.
That's good. Yeah, that's good. So somewhere, because we were all in on those figures when they, like, the second those things came, that was the thing that like brought everyone back in, right? Was those Power of the Force 2 figures. Like,
oh, I loved him.
Yeah. So and I don't know, we like the movies were back in the theater and it was like so yeah, I would say late 80s to 95 in that area there.
That's pretty much, I think, where it hits for just about everybody for the most part. People that grew up in that era, I should say. Has Dan done Bucky O'Hare? We did do Bucky O'Hare. I can't remember now if we actually dedicated a whole episode to Bucky O'Hare or
it's a Larry Hama thing, right?
Yeah, I think we did. I think we did a whole episode on Bucky O'Hare. If not, it is definitely in a video that's like about franchises that are due for reboot or something like that. We've definitely talked about it at some point. Secret Galaxy, Bucky O'Hare, something will come up. Watch that video. All right. I think that's where we're gonna draw the line here. Star Wars is still hang on, let me check real quick. It's still very popular. It's
Did
doing
you
fine.
look outside?
I looked at the internet. I pulled up the internet and checked real quick.
Is StarWarsPopular.com.
Yeah, I googled. Is there still more Star Wars? There's still Star Wars happening. Okay,
There's still a Star Wars.
There's a lot of sales happening today.
Here's
lots of
$10. Go see a Star Wars.
I know. I pared down 80% of my Star Wars Black Series figures, and then I bought 2 new ones today. So stupid. What are you gonna do?
Well, you have to buy new ones so you can get rid of them at some point.
Well, they were super cheap today.
Yeah,
and there's 2 characters I actually needed. So
nothing I bought today was cheap. Jeez.
Yeah, they came for your wallet.
Well, so here's my, it's not a secret shame, but I did one of the things that went on sale today was a Commander Gree Yoda 2-pack, and the one they did of Mace Windu sold out before. Like, I'm a Pulse Premium member, and it sold out like 20 minutes into the hour that's exclusive to Pulse Premium members. So I bought 5 of them for friends. Not I'm not gonna like sell them. I didn't buy 5 for me, but like I knew they were gonna sell out, and I'm like, I'm just gonna max these out.
Yeah,
because 5 was the max. So it was very expensive. Well, I guess it hasn't charged yet, but it will be expensive until I get paid back for those.
Yeah. 2 quick things here from chat.
Yeah.
Ionicus, Bucky O'Hare was redone by Loyal Subjects. It was redone by Boss Fight Studios.
Yes.
And I don't think they have the license anymore. They did okay, but I don't think it was hugely successful just from a recognizability standpoint. And then Joseph, we did talk about the HasLab earlier tonight. Check it on the replay. Or actually, you can just go back right now. It was one of the first things we talked about earlier. The short version is, don't worry about it. It's coming out. It's not going to be a big deal. They're just I would take them at their word on this one. They're just trying to get it right. They want to make sure it's good. This one's going to do just as well as the last 2. Yep. I wouldn't be concerned about it.
A late HasLab is only late until it's out. A bad HasLab is always bad.
There you go. They're probably just putting in lights and sounds or something.
That's like what it is.
Electronic Boba Fett.
If it is the Cantina, I hope it has electric jizz.
I didn't hear what you just said. What?
What?
Electric what?
That's okay.
Oh, electric jizz.
What? Jizz.
All right.
Yeah. That's what music's called in Star Wars.
I'm aware. All right. Thank you to everybody who hung out tonight. We're gonna draw a line there. We're gonna let Mike go to bed and stop live streaming. Mike, drink some warm blue milk.
I'm gonna go microwave some blue milk.
Have a great night, everybody. What do we? May the 4th be with all of you, and also with you. Take it easy. We'll see you next time. Kate, thank you for being here. Mike, thank you for being here.
Bye.
Bye.